we don't expect many people because we also are going to screen and
No.
I suppose that people from university they would prefer just
But my idea was for us,
yeah,
for the big world.
but also we are going to record it.
But this is not a big science, it's just my experience. Is what nice introduction to our tomorrow's.
What do you expect?
Here from you.
No, what do you expect? Because you mentioned about this information. So I intend, let's say, you to meet at 10, probably something together, and then the rest, the rest of the group to join us at 11, and to wrap up. Is this okay for you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I should sit down.
I'm going to introduce you in Bulgarian.
Okay.
Леди, много ми е приятно да открия пролетния лингвистичен семинар, на който взема участие доктор Синиша Виняев.
I'm not a doctor, that I would explain. Sorry.
Okay. So, Sinisha Vinaich, who is going to become a doctor.
Maybe one day.
Който работи в Института за хърватски език и който е гост на секцията по компютърна лингвистика. Всъщност, ние се срещнахме през есента на миналата година, когато той участва в конференцията компютърната лингвистика в България и представи своя доклад на сходна тема с темата, която ще представи днес. И тъй като неговата работа е в област, която е свързана с част от интересите на колегите от секцията по компютърна лингвистика, той изяви желание да дойде тук на посещение в България и ние вече имахме възможността 2 дена, в понеделник и вторник и днес сутринта, разбира се, да се срещаме с него, да разговаряме по различни теми, които са интересни, както за него, така и за нас. И сега имам удоволствие да дам думата на Синиша Виняич, бъдещ доктор, който ще ни представи част от своя опит, тъй като той е доста скромен и не иска да бъде наречен по друг начин, но това, което той е достигнал в резултат на опита си в рамките на 2 проекта, ако не се лъжа, свързани с глаголната семантика на глаголите в хърватски език. Заповядайте, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So before the introduction, I'll make a pre-introduction to explain this, not doctor, just to introduce myself a little better. I got in touch with corpus and computational linguistics when I was just before my graduation on general linguistics. At the end of 90s, when Professor Marko Tadic, you all knew about, he started the first Croatian national corpora in 1998, and I was I gave all my exams at general linguistics, and I was helping during that project. But and at that time I thought I would be assistant maybe and stuff like that, but it unfortunately it didn't came out that way. So I had to go to the army and work in a high school for 5 years. And after that time, Professor Koeva knows Professor Damir Čavar. He is a Croatian who lived and worked in Germany and United States for long years. And he decided to come to Croatia. and start a new department in this Institute of Croatian Language that was called Department of General and Computational Linguistics, and start a new corpora, and he needed a brutal human force to work and cooperate on that. So I was employed finally in 2006 at Croatian Language Repository project, but not as a PhD researcher, but only as a expert associate with because I had previous experience with first Croatian National Corpora. So this was a project that unfortunately lasted only for 5 years. As you can see here in copyright, it's from 2006 to 2011. This Croatian language repository, it consists of contemporary Croatian language newspapers, some books, some scientific books, and so, etc. But it was in the bigger picture, in the bigger idea, it was supposed to be an umbrella for all the different subcorpora from historical Croatian, 19th century, 17th century. Unfortunately, that never was finished because Professor Čavar decided to go back to United States. And nowadays, this Croatian language repository or Riznica is just one of corpora that is annotated and searchable in Sketch Engine. But as you can see, it turned out to be a really small corpora comparing to newer versions of Web Corpora and Alexis Croatian Web Corpora and so on, less than 100 million tokens or words. At the time, when Professor Čavar also had to leave the Croatia, we lost this notion about computational linguistics from our department, and we just stayed like Department of General Linguistics. So my other journey started after that. And in 2010, I was adjoined to a team that was doing the new Croatian national program of building the database of Croatian special field terminology. Those were terminological projects or specialized language projects. So I worked with mathematicians, machine engineers, maritime sciences, art historians, wood technology, and I'm still doing some terminological work. But in fact, my life really changed in my professional life, of course, really changed at the end of 2013 or beginning of 2014, when they assigned me. Okay, let's get one step back. When we did this terminological work, a colleague of mine, Ivana Brach, and I, we were terminology is all about nouns, denotations, adjectives, and collocations between adjectives and nouns, like any specialized language is. And it has nothing to, it usually has nothing to do with verbs, processes, and stuff like that. But we were trying to find our themes inside this terminological work with verbs and stuff like that. On the other hand, one part of our institute was always, they were always trying to do with this massive idea about a big dictionary of contemporary Croatian. And some of those work was always had some kind of spin-offs. And one of those spin-offs were idea about making a valency dictionary of Croatian verbs. And the ex-boss of that project has retired. And we had some movements inside the institutes. We got new director, new teams were formed, and then they assigned me and my colleague Ivana Brach to the project of those verb of these creation balances. So I was adjoined because I had at least some computational linguistics or computer science experience. And then I asked them, what did you do these few years while thinking how to make this valency dictionary? And this is mostly what they gave me after their, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So though there were literally hundreds of Word documents, where they had some vague idea how to organize material. If you see this part, so this is for one verb, and in this red square, it says you can probably understand it obvezatni actanti or obligatory actants of the predicate argument structure. They have it like osoba, ono, osoba. So those are practically semantic roles, but just in this unstructured type of data. They also had those patterns explained, but those are word files. You cannot do anything with them actually. They didn't have any clear theoretical framework in which they were working with. They have different annotations. If you can see this než, živ, this is animate, inanimate, yet this is singular plural, but every other person was using different abbreviations, let's say. So this is one of those data that I got. Then I asked them, but how do you decide how many verbs or which is your scope? How do you think to manage it? How do you think about finishing it? And then they said me this. They show me this. This is this enormous Excel sheet. They said this is the list or list of lemmas. They were extracting manually during the years in the institute from all the printed dictionaries of Croatian from 1880s until 21st century. Then this list was so enormous, like 24,000 verbs, and most of them were obviously already obsolete or so low frequency that it didn't make sense to to include them. And then I asked, but how many of those 24? They said, oh, we were thinking about 5,000, but without any clear idea how. And then somebody said me, oh, but we have some type of old material that is supposed to be something like not valency dictionary, but verb agreements dictionary. And then they gave me this. This is somebody made in Visual Basic from this list. They made a system to try to write down these verb agreements for every agreement. As you can see, this is probably very hard to comprehend for now, but I'll come to this. I took all of those Excel sheets from Visual Basic, and I can finally get at least this Excel sheets with these verb agreements for alphabetically for every verb that was in that big list. you know the verbs bacati, to throw, and baciti, you probably have them like that in Bulgarian. Bacati is imperfective, baciti is perfective, and they bacati se and bacati se are their reflexive versions. Those agreements in green are all right. If you have bacati plus accusative argument, and then you have these four adverbial questions, those are okay. But if you take a look at this reflexive one, somebody just um, rewrite these unreflexive versions, but you cannot have bacati, cetera, oneself plus accusative. So this is wrong. And so this table is also not completely informative, but it is informative to some extent. And this column F says ограничения, restrictions. So somebody was thinking about restrictions, but they didn't fill it in this Visual Basic system. So we finally got together and said, okay, this is not going to work like that. We'll have to think about the system that would be, to some extent, possible to finally have some concrete results. So, what first thing we had to do is to shorten that list, to somehow make it contemporary. And we used, I saw this Croatian frequency dictionary from Moguš Bratanić and Tadić. I saw it in your room. We took 1,000 most frequent verbs from that dictionary, but it was already a little bit old, from 1999. So we compared it with a list of verbs from textbooks of Croatian for L2, for levels A to B1. They had like 1,000 and something verbs in there, so they were obviously in use for foreign students that learn Croatian as an L2. Make comparison and find 900 verbs that were in both lists. Then they hadn't decided about semantic groups in which to divide them or classify them. So we classified them, those 900 verbs, into 34 semantic classes with 91 subclasses based on Levin's influential book. And our first idea was to process psych verbs or verbs of emotion. You know, from the theory, this is a very specific and very syntactically challenging group of verbs, because you can have experiencer in a nominative case, in accusative case, in dative case. As you see from those, you know, those examples like njihov dolazak, raduje grad, where experiencer is accusative, but you can have a syntactic alternation, grad se raduje njihovu dolasku, so that there is an experiencer in nominative, and cause is in dative case. You can also have experiencer in dative case, like sviđa mi se u Sofiji, I like it in Sofia, sviđa to me. And those psych verbs were like 7 or 6.7% of. So we thought, okay, this is the one pretty close group. We'll have idea to finish it finally, but we still had to find a system and model how to process them. What they decide was to make it according to German valency tradition. This valve was made throughout the years in Germany from, I don't know, late 70s throughout the 80s. And what was appealing to them, that they had this electronic version also. So they decided to make this first PsycVerbs dictionary according to German tradition, and completely transform this German model onto our verbs. So for months I was trying to read all the lemmas from the dictionary, read the papers from German colleagues about transforming it into the electronic version, and we came up with this free level input for dictionary in you know about Svanelex, like proprietary dictionary software. Does anybody work with dictionaries here? Probably not. Okay, we had to make this DTD schema for this application, which is a proprietary. We paid for it, not just for this dictionary, but the whole institute. And when we had this output for internet, so this is the schema. We edited the verbs according to this document. Today it is written down as Postgres SQL database. Svanelex has native XML with all those lemmas. And then we had, but it cannot be output directly onto front end on the internet. We had to have help with PHP administration and some HTML coding, and then we got finally this output for 57 verb lemmas. These lemmas had 187 meanings and 375 valency patterns. How does it look like today? So on the first level, you have a verb lemma. You have this suspectual label. Is it imperfective, perfective, or biaspectual? Then you have a prototypical semantic class, PsycVerbs, and you have this grammatical block. It's normal dictionary processing. And then we have 5 senses, verb senses. For each sense, we had to decide how to describe them. So this is one sense. Those are 2 syntactic patterns according to German model. And for each sentence part, there is a argument of this verb. We have this free level description with syntactic tag. This is nominative complement. This morphological description, it's a nominative case. And then this is the part that bothers me the most. The German model has this 2-level semantic description with definition of the role and some tags. 34 tags. I'll come to that later. You can understand probably the system. Okay. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. So the complements are semantically described in two layers. Verb-specific description of participant. This is this individual definition of a semantic role, and assignments of semantic categories that are specific to these complements. In Valbu, there are 34 these semantic complements for nouns. If you have adverbial complement, there are 7 separate semantic categories like location, time, instrument, manner, cause, purpose, and so on. And if you have semantic category for infinitive and relative clause, then it's a preposition. This is on some level comparable to FrameNet semantics. If you see those are the attributes that we had to take out from the menu, and they are comparable to FrameNet, but they are not FrameNet semantic roles. If you see this, so this is the individual. This for the verb boetis, to feel, to fear. This is the definition: to feel fear of someone or something. And this is in green. This is a example. Marco is afraid of the enemy, and this is well-known example from in the world literature. And you see this individual semantic role is onaj Kosić, someone who feels fear of something. It can be animate, person, or group of people. Today we had a presentation about roles from mapping FrameNet Bulgarian verbs to FrameNet. They call it pseudo animate if it's not a person itself, but if you have a fear from institution, but it's called in their terminology, they call it pseudo animate. We call it organization, but it is the same. So I was never really satisfied with this semantic description because, okay, this is definitely according to this German model, and it's fine, but only in that model. You cannot link it or cannot transform it in anything which is more contemporary in today's resources like FrameNet, WordNet, without bigger involvement. This is not my slide. This is the slide from my colleagues that they have nothing to do with computer science or computational linguistics. This is their thinking about it, and they say advantages of this resources, that is online, it's free. Okay, it is corpus based. Okay, these examples are from Compora. Provides a linguistically accurate description of verbality. This is okay. It is useful to linguists. It served us to start a new project. I will explain why. It can be inspiration for other lexicographers that I will explain later. Tool for learning creation as an L2. I can agree with that. And then this last resource for linguistic data linking, they say. And I put those question marks. I think we can link it only with this German electronic version of German verbality lexicon Valbu. But okay, they were not so keen to think that they are perfect. What are the disadvantages? Manual extractions of examples, it's very time consuming. slow project process, of course. And then I put it in red. What bothers me also, this is those individual semantic roles, sometimes difficult to comprehend even for the people who did the lexicon, not only to the users of the lexicon. Weak IT support, we know all about it, and lack of creation resources. Okay, at that moment, that was somewhere in 2018, we, my colleague Ivan Brach and I, we realized this is not going to work, and that we'll have to find something more comprehensive and something more contemporary in the way to describe those semantic roles at the time. So not to forget, during all the time of processing those verbs, and we were doing some other words that are not put on internet, verbs of motion, verbs of, I don't know, I don't remember now. Okay, we were doing some verbs of motion, of communication, change of state, and we got because this German model says we only note arguments or complements, but not adjuncts or modifiers. And sometimes we used to have so much, we spent so much time deciding, is it a non-obligatory argument or is it an adjunct? So we used to have, so that's why we started this project of distinguishing between arguments and adjuncts in creation, to take a break from making dictionary and to see whether we would find some good way to finally decide when we have doubts about noting core elements or non-core elements and stuff like that. And my last part of this journey, while we were doing this arguments and adjunct distinction project, the other institute project did some small project called Croatian Web Dictionary or Mrežnik. This was also a 4-year project, also processed in this Channel-X application software, proprietary software. I don't know details, but what I do know, they have 3 modules, basic modules with some to 10,000 plus lemmas. And they had, out of these basic modules, they made module for elementary skill pupils or in Croatia with 300 lemmas, how to use a dictionary, modern dictionary, and 1 model for learning Croatian as a second language. And one young assistant that was working on that project said to us, she was always hearing us having, not fights, but always having arguments about our projects, and she was always telling us, I think I could help you with this, with verbs from this dictionary. And we would always say, nah, don't give us that. We don't want to. And she was all, let me, when it would be finished, let us consider how and what. And finally, this is finally, oh, sorry. This is finally over, so I'll try to make a link. So this is this verb baciti, to throw, how they put it on online. So this is perfectly transitive, as we know. They have the same, this grammatical block. What they took as an inspiration from us, those are these verb senses, 1, 2, 3 in blue, Batsty. They didn't have semantic classification, but what they have these concepts and definitions, and what is appealing to me, they don't have semantic roles, of course, of any kind, but they have those questions. Tko može baciti? Who can throw? Those are based on most frequent collocations in web corpus creation. So those are literals. Exactly who can throw, who can be an agent, man, child, citizen, whatever. What can be thrown, bomb, stone, ball, and so on, and how and where, and this adverbial complement. So they have this for the perfective transitive, they have for perfective reflexive, and so on and so on, and they have this pairing for imperfective and perfective. After that, and I always had in mind this old Excel sheet. If you can see, there are three patterns that are not included in their dictionary. For Batsty, there is one, this AD, which is accusative plus dative, obviously. And for this, Batsty has instrumental as an agreement. Here, Batsty has accusative and dative also. So I tried to look into the corpora to see why did they forget about it, and if you look for Batsty plus accusative, that it's a normal, pretty normal construction or pattern, of course, to throw something to someone as a recipient, not beneficiary, but recipient, for both imperfective and perfective. But if you have this Batsty plus instrumental, I was having trouble to even find the regular expression to find this pattern at all, and it was so obsolete that we can really forget about it. There were like two cases. It's more or less like biblical phraseology of something, so we can really forget about it. So to conclude, what do I have, and what my question and my reason to be here exactly for this last week and hearing your presentations and talks with you, to try to see what can we do with it to make it more, I don't know, comprehensive and more readable for the other linguists and other systems and other resources. So in our eGlava, so we have this suspectual label and these things with that had frames. That this is what I think I need. So I need some type of semantic classification, I think. This grammatical block, it's not important now. It is in this dictionary. We can just link it to their senses. And this is the biggest part, semantic description and those syntactic labels. So in both of those dictionaries, we have some kind of semantic description, but this in eGlava is explicit with this individual semantic role and semantic category. And in this Mrežnik web dictionary, it is implicit through those questions about actants in structure. So what I think I should do, compare those lists, just to see how much they made. Attach those semantic classes we already decide about from Eglava to those 1004 from Web Dictionary. Define unified model for syntactic description and use this agreement sheet as a control for missed or rare patterns, as we saw here with this BATSA plus instrumental. And finally, transform this individual semantic role plus semantic category from Eglava and those questions for frequent collocations from Croatian Web Dictionary into normal or classical or readable for other systems semantic roles like agent. I should think about some system to do it at least semi-automatically. If we have these questions with who, then we'll decide every who is an agent, but then we'll see in the semantic classes that some agents are not real agents, but experiencer, perceiver, or whatever. Then we can finally get to this linking and mapping with word creation, WordNet, FrameNet, as we discussed through these days. So this is my cry for help. No, I'm just kidding. Not cry for help, but I try to make this more like proposal for our talk for tomorrow more than my solution. I would like to hear more from you because you have more experience and you have more knowledge than me, and I'm alone. Trust me, I'm completely alone because my colleagues are, okay, this new assistant, she has Croatian language bachelor and computer science, so I can, but she's very young and she hasn't finished her PhD. She has to, this is the girl with Meronimi PhD, but she will have it in a few months, so then she can join me and try to make it valuable and visible. Okay, that would be it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Very interesting talk, and for sharing your doubts and take the decision. So now it's our turn if you have some questions or comments. Mr. Bonaric.
We'll save them for tomorrow.
Maybe. There are some points from two different departments, from the Department of Etymology and the Department of Onomastics.
Okay, okay.
But at least some of them actually are interested in word semantics from the point of view of etymology, and also some of them are interested in languages such as Croatian, Serbian, form of Serb-Croatian. So, if you have some comments, feel free to ask or questions.
Probably one obvious solution would be to try to link these senses to Croatian word.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because then you will have access to these resources. So then keep it but that would not be straightforward.
You mean directly now? But I was thinking more of this like a next step when I arrange this into a so-called dictionary, you know, for users. That would be my idea for next steps, your work.
I have a few questions, of course. Maybe I'll ask on one or two. For example, I wonder in the scope of the eClava project, you mentioned that you classified works in work classes based on language
Yes.
classes. My question is, how did you do this in practice? By translating works or by classification?
Mostly translating and adjusting to Croatian material, because she had, of course, this syntactic realizations, but we started from the first sense in the dictionary, like a prototypical meaning of a verb. But if the verb on its third or fourth meaning isn't prototypically isn't semantically as his prototypical group, then we assigned it to another group.
So we can suggest that Croatian verbs classified in semantic classes are more than verbs. We can suggest that your verbs, Croatian verbs, classified in different semantic classes, are much more in number than the verbs which we can find in the Leibniz book. Or not?
I don't
You don't know.
No. We just try to classify this 900 according into and use these subclasses if we are not sure how to. But this is just a classification. It's not that important until we have to do this alignment with semantic roles, because
yes, I think the classification is not so easy. And,
no, it's never
easy.
It's
not how to say simple, because it should be related with the other descriptions, semantic and syntactic. So
yeah.
we cannot just say this is motion words or concept words.
No. Prototypically, in the first meaning, it is a verb of motion, but its third meaning doesn't have to be, of course, prototypical.
And another question, and I'm going to stop. Another question is, you mentioned also these semantic categories like person, osoba.
Yeah.
So how did you choose?
This is a Valbu completely transformed.
Yeah,
this is this dictionary is just a Croatian copy of a model with every aspect of it is, but only the type of processing in this Schwanelex is different from their dictionary.
And this dictionary is already finished, Croatian dictionary?
No, we finished just psych verbs and then decided, okay, this is not going to work, this is too time consuming, that way. That's why I would like to make this at once for these 1,000 verbs, just without these complicated descriptions for semantics and morphology.
Повестка за Ирания превъзходила и recimo 14 до 15 stoljeće, kako bi se učili i jezički material, recimo dobro.
I think it should be only for contemporary Croatian, as far as I'm concerned. I have colleagues from the Department of History of Croatian Language. Maybe in the other iteration or other, we could think about some linking to older meanings, older usages. Yeah, I know a little about syntactic alternations in the older Croatian that were attached to Latin, old Latin grammars, to some German grammars, but this is too far-fetched for this. Maybe in some other iteration. Thank you.
Mislim, da bi bil zanimiv.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is out of my powers to decide on my own.
Mislim, da odgovori mnogih pitanja možete naći tamo.
Yeah, okay, I understand what you are trying to imply, but maybe in some other iteration.
Other questions?
I have a question. Have I been clear? Did you understand my position and my doubts and okay, and why I'm really here?
Okay, let's take again our colleague.
And of course, first of all, I would like to thank you all for your presentations, Michaela for driving me every day to work, and of course you. So we'll finish tomorrow with all.
Okay, now we can take one group photo here. No,
Sure.
come in front. It's not bad.
No.
Там все говорили,
I wasn't too long.
No. Чувате ли ме, Хриси? Тук ли сте? Хриси,
Чувам, да.
Ако може екраните.
Ето ни.
Добре.
Once again.
Хайде. Да. Ами, да, и наглядата после ще направим нормално. Хайде.
Готови?
Готово ли?
Малко светлините, вие сте малко така в различни...
Както казах, сега ще направим нормална снимка, сега просто нека да има
Да, така е по-добре, да, идеално. Да, момент.
Добре. Готови.
Готови.
Готово ли?
Момент. Още една. Готово.
Иво,
Да, готово.
някой са клекнали коленото.
Да, си готова. Прекратяваме този експеримент. Сега, застанете отпред за нормална снимка, ще се консултирате. Не точно.
Да.
Ами ние спираме тогава.
Аз те чувам, но не знам дали се чува в залата.
Май
Чао,
да.
Ива.
Да, чао.
Хвала.
Става ли грешната страна?
Да. Изглежда стара обектива.